morning. I thought today you could just look out the window. We can all squint together. All right, yesterday. Ooh, remember that Emily is now in the water and finally found Richard and Catherine. Don't worry, Emily, Catherine said, but her voice was quavering. We've all got off the boat. We haven't sunk with the boat, and we found each other. Her voice trailed off. Richard said, Look, we got to stay positive. We're going to make it. He turned to Emily, or rather to Emily's shadow. It was the kind of evening light where you can see things better out of the corner of your eye, where only movement lends shape to an object. She did not respond. The sound of the other passengers were penetrating her, pushing themselves to the front of her brain, shouting over her body's adrenaline. La ilaha illa, smoke and cars flipping around in midair. Just insane. And there was this voiceover, an excitable chap with. He was so bloody loud, and every time there was a crash, he would scream, and he walked away about the driver, because somehow, miraculously, each time they'd escape. Emily grunted. They were in the middle of the ocean, treading water to a sunken ferry, and hundreds of helpless, dying passengers. That's what I'm going to say to you both the moment we get out of this mess, I promise you, he said earnestly, and she walked away. Catherine had been silent for too long. Love? Richard said to his wife in the darkness. Cold, she insisted. Her voice was trembling, and Emily wondered. Chapter 8. Look, there's a life raft there, Richard. It must have been a raft. It couldn't have been any, because there were shadows of many people in a clump, thrashing above the water, swaying back and forth. Richard led the way toward the raft. Scarves and paper cups, useless debris. Everything that could be used as a flotation aid had been taken. As they approached the light, Emily stayed back behind Catherine, who was following Richard. Emily heard men shouting at each other in Bahasa Indonesia. Get off! Get off! Let go! Hangers on. The tiny raft looked as if it would be torn apart. It wasn't that big to begin with. There were at least 20 people fighting over it, and it was upside down. Richard threw himself into the fray. Either get on or get off, Emily heard him yell in English. You're going to sink this thing. But no one listened to him. Stop hanging on the edge. You're going to pull it over. He pushed a man away from the edge. The man shoved him back and shrieked at him, clawing at his face. Richard pushed him again and grabbed Catherine by the arm. Emily watched as he pushed her from below up onto the raft. And so if you're thinking of all this in your mind, try to remember that if you're pushing someone up and you're in the water, there's nothing for you to push your feet against but water. It would be very difficult. Catherine was bent at the waist with her legs hanging in the water and her face in the depression of the raft, unable to lift herself, stuck halfway. A man in the raft started to heave her overboard like an unwanted sack. Stop it! Have you gone mad? Richard yelled. Listen, she's a lady. She's got to. She should be in the raft. Let her on, a man yelled in Bahasa Indonesia. The first man said in English, No more, no more, and began pushing Catherine again. Richard screamed. It wasn't words. Instead, it was almost like a tribal cry, a primitive sound from deep in his chest. He lifted himself up onto the side of the raft using one arm and began punching the man who was pushing Catherine. He dragged him down by the hair and pounded on him with wild, flailing punches. Emily saw the silhouette of his arm, powerful and fisted, like that of a gorilla beating the ground to stake its territory. The fist rose and fell an agonizing number of times, but Emily couldn't tell which blows hit their mark. In the end, Richard pulled the man right off the raft. Ooh, that is some exciting times. We will wait there until tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day.